Next item is a professional development report. Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Stacy Dattery, will give us some specific information about that.
All right. Thank you, President DeWitt, Interim Superintendent Eads, and members of the school board. Annually, you as board members are presented with a professional development report. And this evening I will share with you the 2014 report. It is focused mainly on summer professional development. And as that is where the vast majority of professional learning occurs across our district. Some does occur throughout the school year, and that is noted in the report as well, as teachers and professionals are most often, though, able to engage during the summer months when they do not have students, of course. The summer professional development is optional, as it does not incur on that contracted time. But you will see that many teachers do take part in several different sessions. As Diana shared earlier, the Professional Development Council has really strived to provide what's the differentiated look around professional learning and how might we better be able to meet the needs across the board. So I am anxious to share with you a little bit around that. The professional development has been focused over the past several years based on the strategic plan Reaching for Excellence. And in this plan, there were actually 5 strategies that were directly related to professional development. They entail developing systems of evaluation and results to ensure that the professional development meets the needs of the teacher in that session. It's about providing coaching to new as well as veteran teachers whenever possible. It's about focusing on opportunities that directly relate to what teachers need within the scope of their work, but not in addition to their work. Additionally, the plan was to provide the tools and the resources that would enhance what teachers are able to do with students and support them in their work. And finally, to develop a robust induction program, which means any teacher that's new or administrator that's new to their role, their profession, goes through an induction program. And the idea is to really support them so that we can retain them and help them in this new educational field that they've chosen. So this particular diagram I've shared with you a few times. It is brought to us from Learning Forward. That is the National Staff Development Council. It helps to make meaning of professional learning in this continuous cycle of improvement around professional learning. We always begin with the standards-based professional learning, and that provides greater potential to change what educators know, that what they are able to do, and what they are able to take forward into the classroom and believe in strongly. At that point, educators' knowledge, it is from that point, that educators' knowledge, their skills, their dispositions may change, and it helps to broaden their repertoire of effective strategies that they can use with their students to meet their student needs. When educator practice is really refined, it becomes more effective. Students then have a greater likelihood of achieving the kinds of results that support their learning. And all of this learning for the adults is predicated on the goal that supporting student results in meaningful ways will make a difference. This cycle, as I mentioned, is an ongoing professional learning process of continuous improvement, and it is the goal of the Professional Development Council and the professional development opportunities in this district. So I shared with you back in the spring this Keep Calm and PD On, just really thinking about what are the things that we could, again, like I mentioned earlier, differentiate, provide different opportunities, and provide a meaningful staff development opportunity in the summer. So I'm going to share with you what the summer looked like for us. This chart outlines the course offerings and the number of attendees. This chart is actually on page 5 in your handout if you'd like to look at that. The offerings showed an increase of 186 courses and 2,211 more participants when compared to the summer of 2007. So you can see this has been growing and thoughtful work over the course of time. We're excited to see so many of our teachers take advantage of classes that will support them. And 2 years ago, we actually engaged in a survey to ask, what is it that would be more meaningful to you, given the kinds of changes? So we've been able to act on some of those things in the last couple of years. It's important to note that the total number of participants does not mean that there were actually 4,513 different people who attended summer professional development, because some of these participants attended, well, many of the participants really attended more than one session. Total hours represents the total number of professional development hours in the summer. And that's based on the number of participants in each class times 7.5 hours, because each class is a total of a 7.5 hour day, times the number of course days. And so that totaled the 45,604 hours. So you can see there was a good number of hours spent in just about 2.5 months worth of time. Now, on this chart, you will actually see the summary around the percent of certified participants by level. This is on page 59 in your handout, and it is broken out by school. I want to note to you that the summary in your packet has 2013 data, and it did not include the 2014, but this chart does, and I will get you a corrected summary chart as well. So this chart represents, as I mentioned, the average percentage of certified personnel. These figures are calculated by taking the total number of teachers per school who attended the classes this summer, divided by the total number of teachers at that school, and that gave you the average percentage of teachers who attended professional development. Principals encouraged teachers, had conversations with teachers in the spring about attending the kinds of professional learning opportunities based on their personal goals as part of the entire personal growth plans that they do, as well as different areas of focus for their school. And on Appendix D on page 62 through 66, you can actually see some of the different documents that helped principals with those conversations. By tracking attendance for each class, the Professional Development Office is able to determine the average percentage of teachers who attended professional development by school and by level. When 75% or more teachers at any level meet or exceeds the 75% mark, we consider that to be most of the teachers at that level taking advantage of the high quality professional development. And as you can see, this 75% benchmark was met in all three of the elementary K-8 and middle levels, and almost at the high school level this year. We saw a significant increase in professional development with our secondary teachers this year, and that has been an area of focus, and it's sometimes better in some years than other years. And you can see last year it was lower, the year before that it was higher. So I think it really depends on the different offerings that we were able to provide, and what's meaningful to all of our educators as far as this percentage.
We were just checking the math. I think the first one was wacky.
Okay, I will check the math as well. This one always gets us.
But we were, it's fine. It's all good. It was mostly good news.
Is it all good? Okay, that's what I want to hear. All right.
It's better than it looked.
Good. All right. So in addition to this, the summer gives teams at schools opportunities to work together on common initiatives, on common things that they are working on. And there were actually 3 teams. That's fewer than we've had in some of the past, unless teams of teachers decided to attend a particular area. These were 3 major teams that met throughout the summer. The first one is in the School Leadership Institute. We actually added more to that this year, but varied it very differently than what we have in the past, from climate, summer climate, or working on climate in schools, and providing a full 2 days of that for our high schools this year, which we've not ever done in the past. Some on data team, also some work on the changes of standards and assessment, and really trying to help our building leadership teams work on that. So that actually drew, between the elementary, middle, and high, 778 different people over the course of 4 days for elementary and middle, and actually 5 days for high school. So that was pretty significant, and lots of really good conversations. And it was, I think, a more meaningful opportunity for the majority of folks this summer. In addition, we had Boys Town training that you may have heard of in our middle level in particular. I know there have been some different presentations on that. It provides a curriculum of specific social skills that are taught as expectations in the classroom. It teaches methods that support the social skills curriculum, and it creates a positive classroom environment. So it's kind of a deeper look at the PBIS system and really creating common systems in schools. We did another round and deeper scope of this work, and that drew 50 participants, particularly at Franklin. They saw that as an area of need and wanted to focus in that area. And then finally, vertical teaming. We do this every year. It ranges in the number of participants. Once again, we had about 225 different people, the majority of teachers. Actually, the vast majority are teachers. And that, as you know, work to create and develop the revised curriculum and assessment work. So this information can be found on page 14 as well. And this is the total expenditure for summer professional development in 2014. It was $243,134, which is an actual decrease of $157,309,000. This total expenditure takes into account supplies, materials, trainer costs, facilities, and teacher stipends. We have not actually for several years now spent any district dollars or grant funding on food, we just really try to put that money toward either the stipends or the materials, the different things for folks. We do have that teachers in the master agreement several years ago, it was actually that teachers could be paying for professional development. We've not had to ask of that requirement on any of our professional development to date. So I'm thankful for that. We've been able to cover that internally. And actually this table shows you a little bit of a breakdown of how that goes. Of the $243,134,000, 84% was actually funded through grants. And that's a pretty typical, we do fund the majority of our professional development through grants. And 16% was funded through general funds. Again, pretty typical, fluctuates a few percent, but that's really where we tend to be at most years. So teachers, as you know, in District 6 are compensated for the time that they spend in professional development, whether it be in a stipend or, in this case, with credit, and that it's pre-approved and a part of that work. Teachers may be offered a stipend, as I mentioned, for $27 per hour for classes, but more often than not, teachers are offered District 6 credit. This credit can be used by teachers for horizontal advancement on the salary scale. And on page 16, there's a much more detailed chart, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have on that. But it shows after a teacher accumulates 12 credits, they move across that horizontal advancement. So if everyone who received District 6 credit for a class that they took this summer moved to the next step on the salary schedule, or the salary scale, this would be the cost every year. That would be a continual cost, as you know, every year until that person retires. So this summer it ranged anywhere from $147,971 to $339,399. It depends on where they're at in their current salary and on that scale as they move across. And you can see that the total number of credits awarded this summer was 1,853, and that is up from where it was the summer before. So this slide is about that evaluation of the professional development. So we do ask, actually a year ago we changed our evaluation form. Professional Development Council said it's time to ask some different questions and make sure that it's meeting the needs of teachers. So this slide illustrates the information that is given to every participant to complete at the end of the class. On Appendix C, you actually see the entire evaluation. That's on page 60 and 61. And on page 13, you can see a more complete list of details around the comments and a few responses around what they'd like to see for improvements. Some of the more important questions regarding adult learning that I pulled for purposes of tonight are outlined on this slide. It is vital feedback. I review every one of the comments. I review them from the trainers as well. They also give us feedback on how that looks, and we do look at all of the comments, as well as the Professional Development Council looks at this annually after summer professional development to continue to think about what makes sense and how to move forward. One of the big changes that the council wanted to make is this before and after. Before you came into the training, how would you rate your learning, your knowledge, your skills, your understanding around this? And how, after the training, do you feel like you have improved? And there's 3 different questions around that. You can see 2 of the 3 right up here. What's interesting is sometimes it'll be about the same, or it will, it's just kind of how that varies, and then a lot of times we'll get comments around it. I thought I knew, I didn't realize, or I think I learned more than I even realized I would learn. I mean, it all varies in there, but they usually will qualify some of those with some comments. So that's nice. It's good to get that feedback. And it certainly helps us to know how to plan better as well. Each year, the number of District 6 administrators, instructional coaches, and teacher leaders who facilitate professional learning opportunities increase as we continue to develop our internal capacity. We try to keep that internal at the same time. There are times when we want to and need to ask for external trainers as well. But it is important to build that in-district capacity so that we can make good use of our people, deepen our knowledge, and be able to spread that widely, not only in the summer, but throughout the school year. On page 15 of your report, you'll actually be able to see specific names beside each one of these categories of folks who participated. And finally, I would like to close with this presentation by sharing a few recommendations from the Professional Development Council. Diana met with them just 2 weeks ago, and they visited about what would continue to help support professional learning, what did they want to keep on there and continue to make a focus, and what did they want to improve. We know we want to continue to, for 1,100 people, there's over 1,100 teachers alone, and another, as we heard tonight, 700 and some classified staff. And we really try to make sure that we're broadening our professional learning to be not only about teachers and what they need, but also our classified support staff. So we want to be able to invest in that professional learning. We know it is fundamental to student learning that our educators know and are staying on the cutting edge of what the research is telling us, what are best practices, and what is going on as we talk very frequently together on how education has changed. So we want to make sure that our educators, that our District 6 people have the best tools and the knowledge and the skills to be able to do that work. They want a specific focus, and this comes from people when they talk to folks and when we do the survey around scaffolding for our EL students. And we know when we scaffold for our EL students, we learn strategies to really scaffold for all of our students. About being, and we hear it often, that culturally responsive teaching. What does that look like? How can we be better at that in classrooms with kids? And how can we help our educators know what that looks like? We know we hear resounding around the Colorado academic standards. Sometimes we think, what else could there be to learn? And then we sit and we learn more together and realize how much we still have to go. And that backward planning, that was a big focus this year. You'll see that in many of the classes. They said, okay, well, if this is the standard, how do I plan? And how do I use the resources I have? So there were several sessions around that. Also on the data team process, and I have heard, just as this year, 2 months in, how much people feel like their data team process is really up and going and humming in ways they didn't even realize weren't working in their first year of implementation. And so that's been an ongoing, they want more, they hunger for more, and just how to be more effective so that the data they get is actually meaningful and relevant, which ties to our earlier conversations. And finally, we really did a lot more around blended learning this summer, and more than we realized when we started out, and then people just kept signing up and signing up and signing up, and we got more and more. But we know we still have only scratched the surface on that, and we have more to do. So I'll be brief on the next few. We want to continue to provide additional online and blended learning professional development opportunities. So whereas in the first one that I just talked about, we want to learn how to do that with our students, and they want more sessions around the how-to, they also want in the second one ways in which they can learn and take advantage of online. Some of them would like to, and I would be one of those, learn in my pajamas, that stay at home and take advantage of being in and taking part of an online experience of learning, or in a blended learning. Some of it might be done at home, some of it face-to-face. So we've enhanced and increased some of those offerings, and that was greatly appreciated. We can continue to do more, and the council would like to continue to stretch our thinking and our capacity around that. Differentiating professional learning, we are constantly working on that. I think it's about the more variance you have in a system, the more you have to really work to meet the needs of everybody in that system, from the very new teacher, or maybe within the first 5 years of their profession, to those that have been in the profession for several years, and anyone in between. And so there's been a lot of work around that, and but at the same time, we wanted to keep that on there. That's been on there for several years, and I think it remains a focus for this council. And then finally, continuing to think about our induction program. Though we've gotten better and it feels a little better this year, there's still some work to do. And resoundingly, people want more support, and I keep thinking, well, how can we do this? But providing that coaching support by dedicating coaches just to new teachers, because it is so challenging for people to come into this profession, and they've got to be good within 2 months, literally, with students. That's not what we used to have. We know we used to have at least 2 years to get really good at it, or at least semi-good at it. So providing that coaching support and that mentoring far beyond just where's the coffee machine, you know, those kinds of things. And that was in large part what our induction programs were. It was more of the logistics, and now they see that they need to do more in the area of support for our new teachers in that training. So I really appreciate your time this evening. This is an area that we continue to see how we can refine and support our teachers as well as our classified staff in ways that make sense for them. And so I appreciate your time, and I'll be happy to take any questions you might have.
Very good. Thank you very much.